atheism is an attempt to suppress God's truth, which is shining upon everybody.
Secularism has basically taken over the culture, and the historians are saying that we live in the post-Christian era.
Dawkins considers religion a viral infection within the software of the brain, and it has to be expunged.
If militant atheism got its way, America would be a society without morals.
Militant atheism is on the rise today and is seen in some of the best-selling books like The God Delusion by Oxford professor Richard Dawkins, God is Not Great by journalist Christopher Hitchens, or Letter to a Christian Nation by Sam Harris.
I think the people who are writing these books that are sort of promoting atheism honestly have a very poor understanding of Christian faith in particular. They have a kind of a cartoon version of it, which I think a lot of people in America have. It's a sort of
Eric Metaxas is a best-selling author on books about God and has debated Christopher Hitchens on CNN.
There's a lot of anger in there. There's a lot of misconceptions. And a lot of the folks who are writing these books, it's fascinating in a way, especially the Hitchens book. He is conflating Islam and Christianity, and anything negative for him, whatever it is, falls under the category of religion.
What has been the impact of atheism? First, we consider its impact on morality. Theologian Dr. R.C. Sproul.
Most secularists embrace some kind of humanism, which philosophically is one of the weakest worldviews you can ever have, because the humanist wants to say that you are a cosmic accident, you've grown up fortuitously out of the slime, you're a grown-up germ, your origin was meaningless, your destiny is meaningless, but in the meantime we celebrate the pinnacle of worth and value of humanity. It's, as Schaeffer said, it has both feet firmly planted in midair, because humanism lives on borrowed capital. It borrows from Christianity the idea of the value of human life, but it has no philosophical foundation for it other than simple personal preference.
When you really take atheism to its logical conclusion, then you have to say, if there's no God, what is the basis for absolutes of any kind? There is none.
Randy Singer, best-selling author, attorney, and pastor.
Why would an atheist who doesn't believe there's any absolute right or wrong or any moral standard, why would they care about the Holocaust? If there's no morals, there's no absolute right or wrong, why are they appealing to these cases that go against this sense of justice that God has placed in your heart?
And the reality is, their morality is what they define it.
Former atheist William J. Murray is the author of the new book, The Pledge, One Nation Under God. He is the son of Madalyn Murray O'Hare, was reared as an atheist and left it despite his atheist background, or perhaps because of it.
The key of my escaping atheism was the atheism itself. It does not work. It does not function in life. And anyone that says they are an atheist and that they're perfectly normal and living a normal life, if they are, as Francis Schaeffer said, they are moral parasites. They are living on the moral mainstream that Christianity laid down for them to ride upon. But often that does not work very long, and it sure did not work very long for me. Father, we also would like to...
William J. Murray became a born-again Christian to the utter chagrin of his famous atheist mother, and despite the fact that the infamous anti-school prayer decision of the Supreme Court in 1963 was filed in his name.
The lawsuit was brought in my name by my mother, and that gives me a particularly good insight into what atheists have in mind with the various lawsuits, and one can see where it was the intention of the forefathers to go and how that has been manipulated by an increasingly secular society.
Thank God for America, our birth certificate, creator, creation, God-given moral absolutes. You deny those, and what's going to happen? Look at communism.
Norman Geisler is a theologian and author of the book I don't have enough faith to be an atheist.
30 million at least in Russia, 60 million at least in China killed. Why? Not because they believed in God and moral absolutes, like our founding fathers did, but because they didn't believe in God and moral absolutes, and when there are no moral absolutes, anything goes. There's absolutely no reason why you can't kill anyone who stands in the way of your political goal, your ideological goals. If there is no creator and there's no day of judgment, there's no moral law by which you're supposed to live, you can do anything you jolly well want to do.
In his book, The God Delusion, Richard Dawkins argues that Christian parents should not necessarily be able to teach their children their beliefs. For example, Dawkins quotes with approval psychologist Nicholas Humphrey, who declares,
"We should no more allow parents to teach their children to believe, for example, in the literal truth of the Bible, or that the planets rule their lives, than we should allow parents to knock their children's teeth out or lock them in a dungeon."
Whenever a country moves away from its theological moorings and becomes really secularist, when they embrace a secular worldview, ultimately there's no option but some form of statism.
Secularists like to claim that more people have been killed in the name of religion than in any other way. Consider these two quotes to be found in The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins.
"Politics has slain its thousands, but religion has slain its tens of thousands.
And
God and country are an unbeatable team. They break all records for oppression and bloodshed."
is that true? Have more people been killed because of religion, including all forms? Christian philosopher, author, and speaker Ravi Zacharias comments on some of the great mass murderers of all time, men who were decidedly anti-Christian.
Mao Zedong, yeah, they, what 60-some million is the slaughter of China by the hands of its own people. With Stalin, the minimum number is 15 million. Pol Pot, the killing fields, 3 million. The atheists have killed more in the last century alone than all of religion has killed cumulatively up to this point. And the difference is, in atheist, it was a logical outworking. With religion, it was an illogical outworking.
In 1999, Harvard University Press released The Black Book of Communism, Crimes, Terror, Repression. The book chronicles the killing of some 100 million human beings in communism during the 20th century alone. The communists were explicitly atheistic in their outlook.
We see historically that when governments embrace as an official policy of the land a policy of atheism, almost in every case, violence has followed in its wake with severe persecutions against Christ and his church. We saw it in the Soviet Union under Stalin. We saw it in Maoist China and in a host of other places throughout the history of the world. And I think Christians in the West need to begin to prepare themselves for the same kind of hostility that it will express itself in violence in our day or shortly thereafter.
Yet the atheists want to blame religion for all the violence. Richard Dawkins argues,
"Individual atheists may do evil things, but they don't do evil things in the name of atheism."
About the beginning of the 20th century, American author James Russell Lowell made this telling observation that says it all in the conflict between faith and unbelief.
"I challenge any skeptic to find a 10-square-mile spot on this planet where they can live their lives in peace and safety and decency, where womanhood is honored, where infancy and old age are revered, where they can educate their children, where the gospel of Jesus Christ has not gone first to prepare the way. If they find such a place, then I would encourage them to immigrate thither and there proclaim their unbelief."
Former atheist Dr. C.L. Kagan is the author of From Darwin to Design.
If you are nothing more than chemicals, if there's no such thing as an afterlife, no judgment to face, no God to face, only the mechanical forces of history, which they believed that they were in control of, then they could kill anybody they want for any reason they want, as many people as they want. They would kill 2/3 of the human race if that's what it took to get themselves in power. So militant atheism has killed many, many more times people than any other political or religious movement that ever arose in the history of man.